that video was getting a little bit long. I wanted to bring you into a part two for the Z buyer. So this is kind of how I first learned that it wasn't about having bad leads. It was about me having bad follow-up, lost out on a lot of good leads. That's why I say it's not up to me to tell you whether a lead is good or not. How do you determine that? Whether they make the decision you want them to make within the first 10 minutes of you meeting them? Well, that would be great in an ideal world. But you meet people, sometimes they're 6 months out from moving, sometimes they're 2 years out from moving, sometimes they're ready to get their house on the market last week. So you run all the gamut. And if you're only selling houses to the people who are ready, willing, and able right this very second, and you're not building up that pipeline for all the people who are going to be hitting in the next month, 3 months, 6 months, if you're not doing that constantly, so you're setting your future self up for success, then you're really missing out on a big, big, big part. So I took this leads company, these leads that were coming in, and the first thing I did, was I had this program. I would get the lead in, I would call them up, and this is how I first started. Okay, so don't think I'm throwing away great leads here. So I first start out, and I'm learning how to do it myself. I'm trying to figure it out, just like you are. And so these leads would come through. I'd call them up, and they wouldn't pick their phone up, or I'd talk to somebody, and then the next time I called them, they wouldn't pick their phone up. So I'm thinking to myself, these are really, really horrible leads. And I wasn't understanding. I wasn't following the golden rule, putting myself in someone else's shoes and understanding how to sell to them. So I scrapped that program. I said, these are bad leads. I'm tired of paying $100 a month for these things. I'm done with it. Well, like a year passed by, I don't know, maybe 2 years passed by, and I get a call from a sales rep, and I was like, you know what? I'll give it a try. They had something in there. I don't remember what it was to sweeten the deal. I said, let me go ahead and try it. So I bring this new system in place, and guess what? It's got all of my old leads in there, the ones that I basically threw away because I said they're garbage. I went back through each and every one of them and looked through, and like 60, 70% of these leads had listed and sold, but not with me. They did that with somebody else. So somebody else had a better system. So I realized it wasn't the leads that were bad. It was my system that was bad. So I wanted to then figure out what I got on there. I was trying to do some editing. I'm still learning about this. I had something about editing up on my screen because I'm trying to see if I can add to a video instead of doing a part two. Uh, so going back to the story, I realized that with a better system in place, I could have higher conversion rates. So here's what I changed. When the lead came through, I was literally the first person to make the phone call through to the person who just hit submit on their computer or on their phone. Back in that time, it was probably a computer that they did it on. So I get their name and number. I don't look up any property information if I'm out. If I'm in the office, I pull the property information up as I'm dialing. I hit call. I get through. My contact ratio from the lead coming in to getting in touch with them went up dramatically when I made sure that I was the first person to uh, to call them once they hit the submit button. It was night and day difference. And when I would get them on the phone, instead of asking them all the same questions that everybody else is going to ask, I was only asking them questions about their goals. When do they want to move? What was their purpose for reaching out to get, did they already have a price valuation or a CMA done on their property and they want to get a second opinion on that? Did they have an appraisal done? Did they have a refinance done? Are they looking to move in 2 weeks, or are they looking to move in 3 years when their kid graduates from high school? I'm just letting them spill their guts. And there's a book out there, question-based selling. And a guy talks about the most interesting man in the room. And so there's this guy, he shows up to a party and he's, hobnobbing, hanging out with everybody, having a good time. And, he left the party, he showed up late, left the party early. And once he rolled, everybody started talking about this guy. And when they got to talking about him even more, they said, hey, wait a minute, do you know anything about him? Is there anything you can tell me about this guy? And pretty much nobody could tell you a single thing about this guy. And the reason why is because that most interesting man in the room didn't talk about himself. He asked questions and let the other person talk about themselves. Because just like the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, when they say, if there's a group photo taken, of you and your classmates, for example, or you and your coworkers, who's the person that you're going to look for in that photo first? And the answer is yourself. So if you can get them talking about themselves, you will learn a lot more about how you can help them or sell to them, which selling is just delivering the information they need to make a decision. So the more you let them talk, the more you find out how you can help them. And it sets the rapport level above and beyond your competition, who's going to be making that call at agent 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And again, this doesn't matter whether you're selling houses or loans or it doesn't matter. Whatever you're selling, these same basic principles apply. So, everything that you do with a prospect either builds a bridge between the two of you or it builds a wall in between two of you. So, if you're calling them repetitively, not getting through, but they know who you are, guess what? You're building a wall. If you call them, you get through, you develop some rapport, you let them know that you're saving them into your phone. You talk about when you're going to call them next and what problem you're going to be solving at that time. Maybe you've got to get off the phone with them to look up some information and call them back to deliver them a time, or send it through, or wait for their spouse to get home so you can confirm the meeting time. Always shoot for the meeting too. Face to face is king. Nothing beats face to face. That is the purpose. Every piece of marketing that you have, I don't care how great, the only purpose for that to be sent out is so that you can ultimately get a face to face meeting. So I guess I want to wrap this video up with this. I had a lead system in place. Now I've had many systems in place, and we're going to go into a lot of them here. I had a lead system in place that I threw away because I thought that it was garbage. I brought it on later in my career when I was a little bit more mature than I was earlier, for my prospecting, lead follow-up, and closing ability. And I worked it properly and realized that it wasn't the leads that were garbage. It was my system. So I then started putting a system in place. And here to share that with you guys. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks so much, and like and subscribe if you're still around. Thanks.